Welcome back to Math is Easy Step by Step. Here's the part 21 video. We're continuing in example 2 in finding the quotient. That's the answer to a division problem using scientific notation. Say that 5 times fast. Let's jump right into it. I have the first coefficient 6.2 times 10 to the negative 2 divided by coefficient of 2 times 10 to the negative 8. What's the first step you take in solving this problem? All right, so step 1, we're going to divide these quotients. 6.2 divided by 2. Now, on some of these exams, you're not allowed to use a calculator. So I'd like to show you, if you're not aware, of how to find the quotient dividing manually. So 6.2 divided by 2, you're going to take that decimal, raise it above the divisor bar. It goes right above the divisor bar. Now you're going to use this digit here, 2, and think to yourself, 2 times what number gets me closest to 6 without going over the value of 6? Well, I know 2 times 4 is 8. That's too much because 8 is larger than 6, right? But then, so I know I'll drop it down a number. 2 times 3 is 6. So once I find that value, 2 times 3 is 6, I subtract 6 from the number here, which happens to be 6, I have 0. Right? You take the second term before you start dividing again, you bring it down. Right? I use this as a organizer just to bring down that 2. Now you're going to think to yourself, 2 times what number gets me closest to 2 without going over? Well, I know 2 times 2 is 4, and 4 is too large. So I'll drop it down a number. 2 times 1 is 2, right? So 2 minus 2, I'm going to subtract whatever I multiplied, that product I subtract from the 2. So again, 2 times 1 is 2. I subtract it from my target of 2. I get 0, right? So there's no remainder. And my new coefficient is 3.1. I'm not done yet. What's the second step in finding the quotient using scientific notation? All right, that second step in finding the quotient or the answer to a division problem, we're dividing scientific notation, is to divide the base. I have a base 10 and a base 10. Remember, when the bases are the same, they stay the same in your answer. And so we do the opposite of multiply. When we multiply and the bases were the same, we'd add. So since we're dividing, we do the inverse, which is the opposite. So what's the opposite of add? It's to subtract. So I have negative 12 minus a negative 8. Okay? If you're not familiar with multiplying, dividing, adding, subtracting with integers, I suggest you master that skill. You can look for worksheets with answers on integers. Learn the rules. I have a bunch of videos I put out there that help you understand using a number line and the rule system. Go ahead and check out those videos. So essentially, this minus sign and that negative sign, right? You can imagine that there is a invisible negative 1 right here, right? And a negative times a negative is a positive. So you can imagine the negative times a negative would give you a positive, right? So negative and a negative again makes this a positive. And it's a positive 8 and a negative 12. All right, so again, when you divide, you subtract the exponents. A negative and a negative make a positive. Okay, and so we had a negative 12 here. Negative 12 plus a positive 8, right? I loaned you $12. That's negative 12. You paid me back $8. That's a positive 8. How much do you still owe me? Well, you still owe me $4. That's the negative 4, right? So our base 10 is still 10. Our exponent is now a negative 4. And if you're struggling in understanding this, you really, really need to practice those adding and subtracting, multiplying, dividing with integers. It'll give you the rules. I've made a bunch of videos. So hey, let's put these two values together. A coefficient of 3.1 times 10, the base 10 of a negative 4, and you have your quotient, or the answer to a division problem using scientific notation. Remember, you have to ask yourself, 3.1, is that a number between 1.0 and 9.99? Yes, it is. It fits the criteria for being a coefficient in scientific notation. We have just solved example number 2. Hey, check me out for mistakes. If I make a mistake, I'd love for you to let me know. Sometimes it's hard to see our own mistakes, but that's why we practice over and over and over again. It makes math easy, step by step. Thank you for joining me. If these videos have helped you, please like, follow, share, and subscribe.